a cold chicken. Her name's Elvira. She is quite a character. She's very vocal. She's always clucking.
Elvira, wanna get on my lap? I'll grab you, girl.
She screams a lot.
Can I move you one more time, Beauty? Oh my God, okay.
And I know she's cold because she acts cold. She is always shivering.
What are you doing, beautiful? Are you shivering?
Whenever I have my coat open, she tries to nuzzle in. This is not a happy chicken in the winter. And so I've set up this routine for her where I have this microwavable pad, this heated pad that she gets on, and then I cover her in her blanket and she just eventually will stop shivering and she settles right in.
Okay. You finally stopped shivering, huh?
And she'll often just actually burrow under and hide her head under the blanket sometimes, and it's adorable. You can't even see her under there, and then just every once in a while her little head kind of turtles out and looks around and then pops right back in. And so Elvira here is one of the many reasons I use a heater in my coop. And I know heating the coop is anathema in the chicken keeping world, but I swear by my heaters. I don't know what I would do without them. Honestly, I think I would probably move all my chickens into the garage at night if I didn't have my heaters. And if you think that's crazy, keep your eyes open for my next video on how cold is too cold for chickens, where I challenge a lot of the preconceptions people have out there about chickens in winter. But for now, let me show you the heaters I use in my coops. Heaters in this coop right now. I've also got one in my coop on the other side of my house.
Oh my God. Wow, someone is molting. This did not look like this morning. Holy crap. Anyway, there's their sweeter heater. Oh my goodness, girls. Madge, you're coming apart. You're coming apart, girl. All right, sweeties, I'll be back in a bit.
And then I've also got one in my smaller coop over here that's temporarily unoccupied right now, but won't be for long.
I don't have the roosting bars in this coop right now, but they are about this high.
And these are called sweeter heaters. They are radiant heaters. They hang over the roosting bars, and they are quite possibly the best invention for chicken coops ever. They are also probably the most underrated and the most underused product. I am hoping we can change that. Very much wants to change that. Okay, Pearly, can you be quiet? I know that was upsetting. I know. This is the first time he has heard that other chickens don't have sweeter heaters, and he's very upset. And if you're wondering if I am sponsored by the manufacturer, I am not. But I am their greatest cheerleader. Or maybe Pearly is, because I love this product, because my chickens love this product. Can you please scream somewhere else? Thank you, sir. Thank you. They do come in several sizes. The ones in here are larges.
The one in this coop is a medium. He's still screaming over there.
And this one is a small. all the reasons you've heard not to heat your coop. Because we've all heard that, right? Never ever heat your coop. It's dangerous. Your chickens don't need it. You're actually hurting your chickens if you heat the coop. That's what you hear. As far as your chickens not needing heat, that's a huge topic, so I'm going to cover that in next week's video. But the heaters I use are radiant heaters, so they do circumvent a lot of those other objections. So for example, these heaters aren't dangerous the same way that heat lamps are. I'm sure you've heard plenty of stories about heat lamps causing fires and taking out whole coops and whole flocks and barns. And heat lamps really can be dangerous, especially if you're using organic bedding. But radiant heaters like this one, compared to heat lamps, they're just not that hot. You can touch them and they won't burn you.
Oh, it feels really good. My hands are cold.
And they're also designed to turn off if heat can't escape from underneath them. So if your heater did fall down onto your bedding for some reason, it is designed to turn off in that scenario. And of course, if you use sand bedding like I do, you're extra safe because sand just doesn't ignite the way organic bedding does. You okay, girl? You just getting under there more? You just getting under the blanket more, baby? Good and comfy? You're so cute. You're so cute. I have also found that my chickens are way more active during the day when they have the heater in the coop. They'll come in and warm up under the heater. And then they go right back outside and forage and socialize and do all the things that chickens do. Their quality of life is just so much better. But what about if your power goes out? Will your chickens survive that? People always tell you don't heat your coop because if your power goes out, your chickens won't be adapted to the cold and then they'll die. And I would be worried about that if my chickens were spending all of their time in a space that was significantly warmer than the outdoors. But like I said, they spend most of their time outdoors, so they're as acclimated to that temperature as they're gonna be. And this heater doesn't heat the entire coop. Even in the smaller coop, it does heat it up a little bit at night, but not a ton. It's designed to really only provide good heat to the space right underneath it. Hi, cuties. How is everybody? So if the power were to go out at night, I'd feel very bad for my chickens. It would be a cold night for them for sure, but I'm not at all worried about them dying from that. And one of the very best things about sweeter heaters, possibly my favorite thing about them, is that because they hang over the roosting bars at night, they warm your chicken's combs and wattles, which are the two parts of your chicken that are most susceptible to frostbite. During my very first winter with my very first flock, I hadn't realized just how hard winter was on chickens. Everything I'd read suggested that chickens do great in the winter. More on that in next week's video. But I was absolutely horrified to discover that despite the fact that my coop was dry and draft free, some of my chickens were still getting frostbite on their combs and the roosters even on their wattles. I did not see that coming, but it turns out that frostbite is really, really common in backyard chickens. It happens all the time. But that does not mean it's okay, right? Chickens feel pain just like you and I do. They are just much better at hiding it because they are prey animals and they're programmed to do that. One of the worst myths I see passed around online all the time is that chickens don't really feel the frostbite in their combs. I've even seen some people claim that chickens don't have nerves in their combs. That is 100% untrue. They have nerves. They do feel frostbite, and it is just as painful for them as it would be for me or for you. And I've also seen prominent leaders in the backyard chicken space say that a little frostbite is unavoidable, but I say it's unacceptable. Would you accept frostbite for your cats and dogs? Then why would you accept it for your chickens? And And I don't say this to shame you if your chickens have been getting frostbite. I have made those mistakes too. My hope here is to simply help you rethink what you've learned and to approach winter care from a more scientific perspective and from a more humane perspective, rather than the more traditional, they're just livestock, who cares perspective. And this heater, for many, many people, will be the difference between your chickens getting frostbite and not getting frostbite. There is one problem you are likely to have when you add a sweeter heater to your coop, or any heater to your coop for that matter. Your chickens probably won't go near that heater for a very long time. They will choose to be cold and to be miserable and even to get frostbite rather than to go underneath that heater. And that's because chickens are neophobic. This is well documented in the scientific literature, and it just means that they are afraid of new and unfamiliar things. It's another one of those prey adaptations. And when you think of a sweeter heater that hangs right over their heads, that is very scary for a chicken. Chickens don't want unknown things hovering above them. Things that hover are usually trying to kill them. So the best thing you can do is put the sweeter heater in the coop long before you actually plan to use it. Just hang it up and leave it unplugged, and then by the time it's cold and you need to plug it in, your chickens will be used to it. You can also put some treats under it to help get them started. Or you can even use the sweeter heater itself as the brooding plate for your chicks. And then when you add it to the coop later on, it's already a familiar and even a comforting object to them. Otherwise, it's probably going to take your chickens all winter to get used to the heater. And if you do find yourself in that situation, then I recommend that after it gets dark, you go into the coop and you physically pick up your more vulnerable chickens, or even all of your chickens, and you place them under the sweeter heater.
Miss Elvira? Yeah, you're not sleeping in the nesting box, girl. Nope, you're not. I'm gonna put her by Muffy here. The barred rocks are kind of mean to Elvira, but there's a big enough gap. Miss Elvira. I know. Okay, there you go.
A lot of chicken keepers don't understand neophobia, so they think that when their chickens don't want to be near the new heater, that means that they're not cold and they don't want heat. However, to help put this in perspective, if you've ever put a fan in your coop during the hot summer days, or if you've ever turned misters on or put a shallow pool in your run, your chickens will initially avoid those things too. And sometimes they'll never get too close no matter how much time passes, but you wouldn't make the mistake of saying, oh, well, they're just not hot then. You know they're hot because of the way they're acting. Hi, cutie. The same is true for heaters. And then after my chickens become accustomed to the heaters, I let them choose whether they want to sleep underneath them or not. Some chickens are tougher than others, and different chickens will prefer different amounts of heat. And the last thing you need to keep in mind when using these heaters is drafts in your coop. If you have any drafts in your coop, that's going to really negate the effectiveness of these heaters. And so while you do need some ventilation in the cold months, you got to get it just right. And in this video here, you'll learn exactly how. Happy chickening. Could you go a little further than that?